What's doing, everybody? Today is Thursday, January 29th. New video of Alex Pretti completely blows up the left-wing narrative about him. Ilhan Omar is sprayed with apple cider vinegar. Ground zero for the 2020 election fraud in Fulton County gets a visit with a raid. And today I've got Chris Salcedo, Mike Howell joining me on the program. I'm AlecLace. This is the AlecLace Show.
The American family is under attack. Parents are the underdog of this nation. Your children are being indoctrinated. That's right. Your children. They do not belong to the state. They do not belong to the school system. They belong to you, the parents, as a blessing from God our Father. So let's preserve, protect, and fight for the American family together. You're listening to the AlecLace Show. The future is family.
All right, welcome everybody to the AlecLace Show. I'm happy and honored as always to be here with you guys. Thank you for tuning in. If you're watching the broadcast as it streams on Rumble, please get down there, hit that share button. Let's get as many people into the live broadcast here, chat as possible. Got a great program for you guys. Chris Salcedo, Mike Howell, both coming back. They'll be here in just a bit. If you missed out on Tuesday's episode, I had a banger there too. The great Roger Stone was here. Had Congressman Rich McCormick, Congressman Brandon Gill, Congressman Eric Burleson. So go back and take a listen to that one. Now, the two big things that happened here since the last time I went live is Ilhan Omar was sprayed with a substance we didn't know, which turned out to be apple cider vinegar. And we learned a lot more about Alex Pretti and who he was. So let's start there with that. This new video that came out shows Alex Pretti 11 days prior to the incident in which he lost his life. And it completely shuts down the narrative that the left immediately jumped on to try to paint this picture of, oh my goodness, this was just a mild-mannered man. He stood there very patiently. He was just an observer. He was just a peaceful protester. We heard about the ICU nurse at the VA. They built this guy up. They even used a fake AI picture of him to make him even look better. Now, they did that on MSNBC. They cleaned him up a little bit, used an AI image of him instead of just using the real image. So what happens in this video? All right. He is obviously agitating federal agents in the street once again. He spits on the agents. As you could see in the slow-mo of the video, as they're trying to close the door, he spits into it. Then as they try to pull away, he's in the street and he's kicking the taillight. He busts the taillight of this federal vehicle. So now they get out and they approach him, and then all of a sudden, you know, he's giving him the finger. He's telling him, yeah, you know, fuck you. He's getting all belligerent. And then the minute they come out to pursue him, he turns around and pretends like he's trying to run, but he gets into the struggle. He's resisting now, okay? So this gives us, establishes a pattern with this guy. Now, he also has the same gun in his waistband, which is visible in the second video. So he's carrying this gun. He assaults federal agents, he damages their vehicle, and then he resists. Now, why this guy was not arrested on the spot and thrown in prison, I don't know. We need answers on that. I don't know why that didn't happen, because if it did, he'd be alive today and in prison where he would belong, because he's committing a felony. He should at least have lost his right to carry a gun, because he's committing a felony while he's carrying the gun. So, yeah, we were told, oh, he's just expressing his First Amendment right. He's just expressing his Second Amendment right. Well, you can't commit a felony while you're carrying a weapon. I mean, they frown upon that sort of thing. And then you had, I broke this down yesterday on my YouTube channel, on X. I put it on all the socials, and I got all these fruitcakes in the comments that are like, oh, it's AI. That's an AI video. Now, there's multiple angles of the same incident. It's not an AI video. It's 100% authentic. Even CNN authenticated the video. The reason why they want it to be AI is because they know how damaging it is to the narrative. Now, of course, they come back with, well, that doesn't mean he deserved to die. That's not what we're saying here. What this does is establish a pattern of who this guy was. He was a violent agitator who attacked federal agents multiple times. Now, we heard that there's an incident where he broke a rib. I don't know if this is the incident he broke a rib. Was that in another incident? Because this was 11 days prior. Did he break the rib there, or did he break it in another incident? How many other videos do we have on tape? Or how many other incidents or times did this guy act aggressively towards ICE agents while carrying a loaded weapon? So still a lot of questions to be answered about this guy and what he's involved in. But we know one thing's for damn sure. This is not a guy who was standing there being an observer. This was a guy that was in the street, egging on, agitating, and instigating confrontation with federal agents. And the only reason in my mind why you would do that while carrying a gun is so that you could be a martyr for the movement. It seemed like this guy was hell-bent on being a martyr. Why in the world would you go out and try to bait federal officers? You can even see, like I said, when he turns and then all of a sudden he's egging them on like, come on, yeah, come on, come get me. And then when they do, he turns around, he turns his back, then starts to resist. You're doing with a gun. You turned your back where the gun is in your pocket, in your back waistband. You present that now to the officers so they can see it. This guy seems like he was trying to get himself killed by federal agents. That's what it almost seems like now. You have an established pattern of this guy's behavior. The incident where he dies, it's the same thing. You're out in the street. You're interfering with an obvious ICE operation or federal border patrol operation. You're in the middle of the street. You're confronting these agents with a gun in your pocket. Why in the world would you do that unless in your mind you wanted to be martyred? His parents said that this guy had a radical change of his mind and was acting very differently, and that they warned him, hey, you're going to go to these protests, don't get in any trouble, don't get involved, and so, but he didn't listen. He went out there, got involved. He obviously instigated 2 incidents now that we know of. So that video is out there. It's very damaging to their narrative that this guy was just an innocent bystander, just a guy standing there filming. That is not the case at all. It seems like the most likely scenario here is that this guy was trying to become a martyr. I mean, it seemed like he had a death wish. That's the way you definitely changes the way you look at the incident that ended his life. You now have to look at it through the lens of this new video because there's obviously a major pattern that is being set here. It's not a one-off. This wasn't a one-off time for Alex Pretti. He was just standing there now, just filming and recording. This has established a pattern where this guy violently confronts and instigates a confrontation with federal agents while carrying a loaded weapon. Now, the number one major question is, why was this guy allowed to leave that scene and not be in handcuffs? That's the number one question that has to be asked about that. And if that's the case, you wonder how many other people are allowed to get in these confrontations and also leave without a slap on the wrist. It's very frustrating, the whole thing. And the left, they jumped the gun to see if they could get ahead of the narrative, which it seems like, of course, they did. And they've turned it around. You even had some people on the right, like, questioning this. Oh, well, I don't know. It's like, in my opinion, these people, the federal agents, were set up here for this, is what it now appears to look like. And again, going back to the main incident, my opinion on that still stands. I think it's a tragic, a senseless death that happened to this guy, but I think a justified shooting by the people that were on the ground and had to make a split-second decision. Again, just real quick, the same scenario plays out. Was this guy known already to these agents that were there? Did they know who this guy was? Do they remember him from the other incident? I don't know. That's another question to be asked. Was he known to the Border Patrol agents that were on the ground that day by any of them? That remains to be seen. But we know that this guy was resisting arrest with them. He put his hands on the ICE officers. So we have imagine a scenario where you're going to have a loaded weapon and you're going to assault federal agents. This guy's on camera doing it twice. He's on camera doing it twice. So in the incident that ended his life, he puts both of his hands on the agents. Then you now have to be detained, and he resists the arrest again, and he reaches into his waistband. The gun is pulled out of his back pocket. Then he reaches to his back pocket. He might have pulled out a clip. We still don't know. Is it the clip, the magazine that he pulled out? They said it was the phone, but it looks like the phone was in his left hand. All this is going on while someone yells, gun, gun, gun. The gun discharges. We hear a shot, and then he's killed. So tragically, all of those scenarios led up to the officers firing in defense of their own lives. And that is the way that it went down. And now we know that he might have been looking for exactly this type of scenario. Oh, what's your take on it? Get down. I mean, the left, no matter what happens, if Alex Pretti can come back from the dead and say, yes, I did it intentionally so I could be a martyr, the left would still say, no, that's not what happened. The ICE officers murdered him. So no evidence will be good enough to change the left's mind. So that's, don't even worry about that. The nutties are never coming back to reality. What's your take on it? Put an opinion down there below. Now, the other incident here was the Ilhan Omar attack that we had. So first of all, I'll say this. Any attack on a political figure, I condemn. I think that it's, even if you're a left-wing, America-hating Ilhan Omar, I don't think she should ever be attacked or assaulted. I don't believe in that. I'm against it 1,000%. Never do it. So what you had was she's speaking in this room that looks like some kind of POW room, some kind of like little hallway that she's speaking in there with a bunch of probably radicals that are in the room. And she's sitting there, and then some whacknut gets up and sprays her with a substance. And so he is. Then she immediately goes after the guy. The guy is detained and then arrested. Prior to that happening, it looks like she makes direct eye contact with this guy and gives him a nod. Then he gets up and he sprays her with this substance that we don't know. Turns out the substance is apple cider vinegar. Now, if Ilhan Omar is completely unaware of what's in this thing, I mean, it could have been cyanide. It could have been, something poisonous or deadly that this guy had in there. She never even reacts as if like, holy shit, let me get this sweatshirt off of me. Let me go get help. What is on me? No, her reaction, she goes directly after the guy and doesn't know what it is and then continues speaking. So they didn't even check to see what it was. She just continued to speak. So they immediately weren't concerned if this was a life-threatening incident. So a lot of the thing, is this a setup? Well, who is this guy? We find out more about him. He has a liberal family. This guy has ties to people that are on the left. So it looks very well like this guy is I don't know if he's a schizophrenic. I don't know if he's lost his mind. They say he's got some kind of, I don't know what they said exactly he has. He has the, he's got something. Obviously, he's got something, but he looked like he was, whacked out of his bird. Looked like he was possibly drunk. He couldn't have been drunk on Ilhan Omar's wine because there's no wine left in the winery. There never was any there, right? Ilhan Omar apparently, Benny Johnson broke that story about how this she's got this winery she's making millions of dollars on or a fortune on, and there ain't no wine to be sold. So she's another fraud. This girl is a complete fraud who hates the country. And, again, that doesn't give any right or reason to assault her or to try to harm her. I'm against it. It seems like this was set up so that she can say, oh, look, they're attacking me. And that's what it seems like. It seems like it was a total setup. And they're trying to make it more than what it was. It was apple cider vinegar by a lunatic who has ties to leftists. It looks like a very clear setup. It could be. That may be the case. One of the other things that we're going to talk about here today is the Fulton County raid. That was raided yesterday, the election site, ground zero, where the magical pipe burst happened in the middle of the night where they had to stop counting the votes. Trump is up. We have to stop counting the votes. We need to find out how many votes we need. Okay, now we'll continue counting. We have the videos where they're pulling ballots out from suitcases. They're pulling them out from under the tables. Obviously, there's shenanigans going on in Fulton County. And wow, what a coincidence. Trump loses Georgia by a snot and a little hair. And then tries to figure out, hey, wait a minute. Let's find some votes there because there's something don't seem right. Oh, my God, Trump's committed a felony. He's asking to shake down the they made a big stink about it. They've done everything possible to cover their tracks that they stole the 2020 election. Nobody on the planet rightfully believes that the American people voted for a brainless idiot like Joe Biden. Not even the Democrats like that guy. He was a terrible candidate. He mumbled and stumbled and bumbled his way through his horseshit campaign that he had going on there. And it was very unbelievable that this guy would. Now, this, of course, still in American history, nobody has received more votes than Joe Biden. Okay, imagine that. The auto pen president, the guy who couldn't string two sentences together, never knew where he was. He got more votes than anybody else. And those people, magically, they didn't turn up to vote for Kamala Harris, who would have been the first woman of color president. Imagine that more Democrats came out for the old white guy than they did for the woman of color. Isn't that incredible? I thought the left was all for the progress, all for the movement, all for people of color and diversity and everything like that. Well, it shows that the left cares more about old white men than they do about women of color, because they didn't come out for Kamala. They came out for Joe Biden. So don't let them ever fool you into that. But we all know, you know what? It's not true. So it's like the statement is false because Joe Biden didn't get no 81 million votes. You know that. I know that. Trump knows that. And now we're seeing this raid. We're seeing the raid. Will we see results? That's the key. That's the main thing that we want to see. Will we see some results? And it seems like they're always slow walking on that. Last thing I want to hit on before I bring the guests on here. Trump spoke yesterday at length about the Trump accounts, which I think is a great idea. It's something that he does to help young families in this country to establish these accounts for children born in 2026. They're going to get these automatic Trump accounts. Now, if you don't even make any contributions into these accounts for your baby, by the time they're 18, there'll be $5,800 in there. By the time they're 28, there'll be $18,000 in there. So without you having to put together a 529 plan or a savings account or something like that for the kids, they're already going to have, without touching it, without doing nothing, they're going to have $5,800. So just about $6,000 when they turn 18 that they're going to have from this account. Now, if you contribute to these accounts, if you make max contributions to the account, by the time they're 18, they could have $300,000, $303,000. By the time they're 28, over $1 million. If you contribute, if you put in the max contribution. So like if you were going to set up a 529 plan and put in your max contributions into that for the colleges so they can go get a woke ideology and a liberal learning permit, then you would put that money instead into the Trump accounts for the kids, and this thing, by the time they're 18, they could have over $300,000, buy themselves a home instead of going to get a liberal education, and they could be set and on their way to start their own family. So I love this idea for Trump. This is pro-family. This is something that we need to see more of, but this is a brilliant idea. I think it's something that they can do to help the future of Americans, especially our young families. We need to do what we can to help them. We need to do more, but I think this is a step in the right direction. I love to see that. The future of this country, the future is family. I always encourage, young people, get married, start a family. That is the way to go. And I think that whatever we can do to nurture that in this country, we need to do. And that's exactly what President Donald Trump did with the Trump accounts. So he spoke on that yesterday at length. All right. So now let's get into this. Chris Salcedo up first. He's coming back on the podcast here. He's got the very popular Chris Salcedo show. And it's an honor to get him back on the podcast. We'll hit on the Ilhan Omar, a little bit of the Alex Pretti. We'll get into some of the other stuff here that's going on. And let's get into it. Here we go. Chris Salcedo. And after this, we got Mike Howell. Let's do it.
Hi, I'm Emily, and I'm at the White House with my dad. And you're watching the AlecLace Show.
You're listening to the AlecLace Show. The future is family.
All right. Joining me now, Chris Salcedo. Welcome back to the AlecLace Show.
Nice to see you, man.
Well, it's great to have you here. I wanted to kind of start out with this Ilhan Omar situation that we've seen. Guy that was there. Apparently, he's nutty as a fruitcake, the guy, and it looked like he's a little drunk. And then looks like Ilhan Omar kind of gives him eye contact and nod. The guy stands up and sprays her with his spray. Some people say this was staged. Others say, if not, this is a very serious attack, which I believe it will be on a person in Congress. What's your take on how this whole thing played out?
Same people that have tried to brush under the rug not one but two assassination attempts against President Trump. They're the ones who are calling the right evil for attacking the beloved Ilhan Omar. Save it. We still don't know what happened with the assassination attempts against President Trump. The Democrats, and dare I say some fake Republicans, are sweeping this all under the rug so we don't figure out what happened here. And I'm sorry, I have very little sympathy for Ilhan Omar getting sprayed with something, even though I'm not going to say that that's something that we should do. But look, Charlie Kirk is dead right now because of bullets flying his way. President Trump had bullets shot at him. The violence in the streets, courtesy of the Democrats, whether they're running over ICE agents, shooting at ICE agents, shooting at Border Patrol, running over Border Patrol. spare me the crocodile tears. I don't want to hear about Ilhan Omar getting sprayed or spritzed with whatever the heck it was, cat urine. I've heard all manner of people saying what it is. Frankly, I don't care. It strikes me as something that's contrived because our side just doesn't do this kind of stuff.
Right, and that's the thing. If it was staged, it's one thing, which I wouldn't put it past him. There's a lot of people on the left that still claim that Trump's assassination attempt was staged, even though Corey Compatore died. It's like they still try to push that narrative, like, oh, it was staged. Yet they're like, oh no, this was a serious attack. I'm just surprised the guy didn't yell, "This is MAGA country," like before he sprayed it. That would really make it look like the setup.
Right. You know what? I'm reminded now that you said that of what was that dude's name up in Chicago? That actor who
Jesse Smollett.
Smollett, whatever.
Smollett, something, yeah.
The B-rated actor who staged an attack on him by so-called MAGA individuals, had the whole country up in arms. Sorry, you know what? Fool me once, folks. I'm not going down this road again. I don't know who this guy is from Adam. He's probably a left-wing kook. He acts like a left-wing kook. And frankly, it is not, as a conservative, I don't apologize for the actions of left-wing kooks. I don't condone them.
Right. So he's either a left-wing lunatic that was part of this as a stage thing, or he's just a nut job, a whack nut. He ain't no MAGA guy. He's not no, conservative guy, part of the movement. So anyway, the more important thing with Ilhan Omar is I think it was Benny Johnson or one of these guys broke this story about her winery. She's got all this wine, but nothing in the barrel. And she's made all this money. Trump has alluded to this all the time that, she went from, pennies in her pocket to millions of dollars in the bank. And they're worried about Trump, who came into this game as a billionaire making money while he's the president. They say, oh, Trump's getting rich while he's president. He'd been rich well before he became president. Ilhan Omar was in the bottom of the tank. Now she rose to the top. And she's, again, another one of these magic stock pickers, I guess.
Just like Nancy Pelosi, just like Harry Reid. And when you said she's all barrel and no wine, there's an expression in Texas that says all hat and no cattle. That's exactly, that typifies the modern day Democrat. They talk a big game, but there's no there. There's no substance. There's no pro-Americanism. Hell, this political party, the Democrat Party, has a woman that is sitting in Congress, and shame on you Republicans for allowing this, has a woman who was born in the United States, and she goes into foreign soil and says she's a proud Guatemalan before she's a proud American. This Delia Ramirez chick, she is declaring her allegiance to a foreign country as a sitting member of Congress. Good grief. What have we descended to in this country, courtesy of the left? Shame on you Republicans for tolerating it, and shame on you Democrats for, again, trying to pull a fast one on us. Good on Benny Johnson for exposing this. Basically, Ilhan Omar is the perfect Democrat. All hat, no cattle, all barrel, no wine. All of this fraud that's being undertaken against the people of the United States from the Somali community, those who are coming in here on the H-1B visa program. I did 2 interviews today on my radio show on the abuses of the H-1B visa program, which is basically importing individuals to do stuff like camp counselors, stuff like teaching at institutions, as if we don't have teachers or camp counselors or janitors here. We got to import them from third world countries. I'm not buying it anymore, and neither should Americans.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that because I've seen you had been covering this. This whole thing, Chris, seems like it's set up like a total mafia operation. The way that they would have the no-show jobs, they have the shape-up guys down at the docks. We give you a title, we give you a certain salary. You don't have to show up to the job. It's just so we can put it on the books. And it seems like that's what they're doing with all this stuff now. This H-1B visa, that was a topic. It seems like it died down a bit because that was like a high trending topic, the H-1B visas, because a lot of people saying we don't need these people at all. Some saying, like Trump was saying, like we want to have just the best of the best to come into the country. But it quickly turned into the best of the best, turned into what you're saying. You have these people that are showing in for jobs that we don't need, while you have Americans that can fill jobs that are actually there.
Salcedo show axiom number 6 says it is best not to give more power to government lest it be abused. Folks, government's powers are defined in the United States Constitution, right? I wrote about this in my book, The Rise of the Liberty-Loving Latino, A New American Revolution. We have a defined set of criteria the government's supposed to adhere to. We cannot, as Reagan said, allow our desire to have government help us blind us to its enormous power to harm us. Every single time you give more power to the government, you're taking power from yourself. And voila, look at the H-1B visa program, folks. They're abusing American taxpayers. They're abusing American workers, all for the benefit of a select few. It's wrong. It has to stop. And the only people who can stop it are we, the people.
And it's always the same bullshit story with the Democrats who try to claim like, oh, we're going to eat the rich, tax the rich more, but they're all wealthy. They're all telling you, oh, the rich people are bad, but they're all rich. It's almost like too, like people will say, oh, eat the rich. I hate these billionaires. And then when the Powerball's up to $1 billion, the line is around the block for people that want to get the ticket because they want to be a part of it. So it's like, who are you kidding? All these people, it's like Trump has just flat out never apologized for being wealthy, never apologized for being successful, and said, I want you to do the same. And that's the whole thing. We're supposed to all be chasing that dream. We're supposed to all want to be wealthy and healthy and successful. That's the point, isn't it?
You hit the lottery. You have more legitimate claim to wealth than these shrubs in government do.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, because they're all frauds. We know that with the Nancy Pelosi's of the world and all these other ones. So,
hey, getting rich off of a game of chance, that's more credible than these leftists, these Marxists, both political parties who use government as a mechanism to get themselves rich. You know why? Because at least if you're picking numbers, you had some modicum of talent that was you. These shrubs who are in government have no discernible talent, have nothing to give to the society. They are leeches, and they leech off of the American people using the power of government, which is not their damn job. They misrepresented who they are. And frankly, again, you hit the lottery, you are more legitimate a millionaire/billionaire than any of these cats in Congress.
Yeah, they're stealing government money, but there is no government money. It's our money. That's the money they're stealing. It's the taxpayer money. That's what they're stealing. I wanted to back it up because obviously the number one trending thing that's been going on is the Alex Pretti shooting. Now we learned now that this guy had previously had a confrontation with ICE a week prior to this, where he was in another wrestle with ICE agents and he broke a rib during that confrontation. And then he's right back out there on the street a week later, getting involved again in another tussle. So this thing, it's terrible for the country what happens. Nobody wants to see people getting killed on the street. But when you have people like this putting themselves with a loaded weapon right in the faces of these law enforcement operations, it's just going to lead to a disaster. So what was your breakdown on this?
Fafo. That's my breakdown on this. If you undertake stupid actions, get ready to reap stupid rewards. And that this is a guy who has been increasingly radicalized. His family's on record saying they don't recognize who this guy descended into. He bought the Kool-Aid. He bought the propaganda. Oh, ICE is terrible. ICE is terrible. For crying out loud, you got a Chicago, the West Chicago mayor is condemning a teacher today. A teacher has been placed on administrative leave. What was the teacher's crime? Saying that she, I don't remember if it was a boy or a girl teacher, a woman or a man, said to the students or on a social media post, I support ICE's efforts. So let me get this straight. You support law and order. You support individuals who are maintaining law and order, and that gets you suspended from left-wing dominated GovEd. And then you have the West Chicago mayor condemning you and the community condemning you. It's utter crap, folks. What happened with this guy, Pretti, he showed up. He was radicalized. He was part of this group, apparently, that's on this Signal chat, this encrypted Signal chat, which, by the way, the participants on that Signal chat, they are guilty, in my opinion, of subversion of the United States government. It's traitorous. It's treasonous. I had Ardo Cueto formerly from the Border Patrol, tell me as much. If you are on a secure Signal chat and you are plotting to stop the federal government from exercising its duty to enforce U.S. laws, you are an active subversive against the government of the United States. You are a traitor. It is an act of treason. And there are Democrats on this. There are foreign nationals on this Signal chat. There are journalists on this Signal chat who are not on there to out it. They're on there to participate, a la Don Lime, right? So this is huge, folks. You have Democrats, the left from abroad and at home, conspiring against the government of the United States. What do we call that? Insurrection, folks. Every accusation the left makes against us is a confession.
I'll tell you what, though, Chris, here's the difference. Had we been doing that to stop them from arresting January 6ers or something like that, we would have been arrested. They wouldn't have waited. You would be in prison. And that's what they did. Now that it's on our side, it's like, yeah, we see this. Everyone sees it. Oh, look what they're doing. They're in the Signal chat. They're well organized. They're well funded. and nothing happens. It's like, well, isn't the foot coming down? Those girls and led the charge and they stormed into the church. They got arrested. They're out the next day. It's like we never seem to, when we have the power or we have the Department of Justice, we never get to see any results. When they have it, it's instantaneous. Boom. They don't play around. And it's like we're tired of seeing that.
Leftists don't play around throughout human history. Leftists don't play around. Folks, I have said we have got to start taking a proactive stance on this, else we're going to get into this where the vast majority of the globe is, with leftists in charge. Your rights are gone, and then you have no other choice than to resort to war and violence to claw back those rights you gave away. Venezuela just went through this. What everybody doesn't realize about Venezuela, they voted socialists in, they voted communists in, and then all of a sudden, within 20 years, one of the most prosperous countries in Central and South America, of all the Central and South American countries, with a huge, vast resource of oil at its disposal, was one of the poorest countries in the hemisphere. Couldn't give their babies medication, couldn't give their babies formula. Why? Because they voted in socialists, they bought the propaganda, and there was only one way to get rid of it. And thank God they had President Trump to come in and violently get rid of the junta, of the leftists that were sitting in there in power. If we give it away, who's going to come in and rescue us? The answer is nobody, folks. So wise up, wake up.
Yeah, you're spot on. They went from like the wealthiest, one of the wealthiest countries in the hemisphere, to cooking their own zoo animals down there. It got barbaric at one point. So
Yeah,
we definitely don't want to see that here.
Medieval.
But it really is. But you know, and you bring up a great point too about the radicalization of these people, like the girl Renee Good, this guy Alex Pretti. These are people that their own families can see, because that Renee Good, her ex-husband, said, you know, this girl, obviously woman, went far left. And when you see the radicalization in someone who is what we'd call normal, then goes left, you could see it, the craziness. When someone is like leftist or a Democrat and then turns right, what is the knock on it? Oh, they started going to church. They started to have a relationship. They wanted to have children. It's like that's the radicalization. If you become on the right, you start to become pro-family, pro-life, pro-church, pro-God. And it's like that's the radicalization that the left is worried about, that they think that we're in a cult. They're like, oh, you go to church? You're in a cult. Meanwhile, these people are out there throwing rocks at freaking federal agents. Ted
Cruz said they don't kill you because you're a Nazi. They call you a Nazi so they can kill you. This is exactly time immemorial, folks, what the left wing does. They call you names. They set out this narrative over news propaganda so it legitimizes their inhuman and subhuman actions. And you know who's partaking in this? The biased left wing press. They are partaking in this. They're the big megaphone. They deserve condemnation, as do all of these leftists who are really undertaking something that is romper room status. Oh, you're a Nazi, so I get to do whatever the hell I want to you. Screw you.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
Yep. Yeah, they try to justify it. And then on that, and the last thing I'll hit on here too, the left-wing media itself, CNN, was even forced to show the latest poll. I think it was a Rasmussen. I'm not sure which poll it was, but CNN was showing that the overwhelming majority of Americans want all illegal immigrants deported. So meanwhile, while they try to play the optics as if everyone's against this, we see the protests. They're saying, it makes it seem like all of America is against ICE. They don't want ICE doing this. But when the polls are out there, overwhelmingly, Americans want to see, which is what we voted for overwhelmingly. We want the illegal aliens deported. And that is the truth. Those are the facts.
It's bullshit. What's going on that is being peddled right now is bullshit by the mainstream press. It's left-wing propaganda. And this is the cautionary tale to all you Republicans out there who are counseling President Trump. Oh, yeah. You gotta really dial things back. You gotta hit the pause button. The majority, no matter which of these outlets, from the New York Times to what was it? It was Marquette. New York Times said 55% of Americans want all illegal aliens out of here. That's a left-wing poll from a left-wing outlet. 55%. Marquette was 64%. That's the other end. That's the high end. Nearly 2/3 of the country want all illegal aliens out of this country. You know what I call that? I call that an electoral win. That's what I call that. If you are out there enforcing the law and getting rid of criminal illegal aliens out of this country, and all illegal aliens out of this country, you are doing an action that is going to win you a majority vote in the next election. So all of you Republicans who are saying, "Oh no, we navel gazing. Oh no, we have to we got to change this narrative. We got to hit the pause button." Screw you. Give the American people what they want. And here's the dirty little secret, Alec. For the last 50 years, 50 plus years, that there has been a truism, two truisms in this country. Number one truism: the majority of Americans do not want illegal immigration and do not want illegal aliens on our soil. They have no predicate to be here. Fact number two: the majority of Congress does want illegal immigration and does want them here. And that's where the disconnect is. Your government is not representing you.
Yeah. Really well said, because and even as you say, the majority of the Americans want the illegal aliens out of here. So do Democrats. All of a sudden that changed. Like they now the Democrats, because we have every single one of these Democrats, Obama and Hillary and Biden, and Schumer, we have thousands of hours of videotapes of them talking about the damage being done to this country by our immigration, by illegals coming into the country. Thousands of hours worth of them talking about this. We've seen all the deportations from Obama. He never gave nobody any due process. He deported as many people as possible. And the Democrats were all in agreement with that. It's only because Trump is doing it now that is the difference. That's the only thing that changed. The only thing that changed is Trump is doing it. And the Democrats want to use these illegals now to stay in power.
One asterisk on that. When Barack Hussein Obama was deporting, he was actually lying. All you union folks out there who voted for Obama and believe this cat, he's a stinking liar. You know what they did? You know what they counted as a deportation? Some illegal alien comes up to the border and says, "Hey, I want to come in." And the Border Patrol said, "No, you got to turn around and go back the other way." They counted that as a deportation. That's how he got the reputation, falsely so, as the deporter in chief. Still, the basic premise of your analysis is correct. When Obama was doing the scant deportation of a criminal illegal alien here and there, no Democrats said, "Oh, there was no due process." By the way, all of you folks out there that are buying that stupidity, the majority of these criminal illegal aliens who are being deported have removal orders on them. For those of you who are Democrats and maybe products of GovEd, a removal order means a judge has taken a gavel and banged it on his desk and said, "You are ordered removed from the United States because you're an a-hole because you have broken our laws. You need to go." And some of these orders are 10, 15, 20, 30 years old, right? Because Democrats and Republicans wanted them here. Trump comes along and says, "No, if you got a deportation order, you're gone." That's what we call due process. And the last thing, where was our due process when Beijing Biden and Barack Hussein Obama opened up the borders and flooded this country with millions of unvetted illegal aliens? Where the hell was our due process as American citizens for that? There was none. We were denied due process by an illegitimate government that would do that to its own people. So don't talk to me about due process.
Yeah, right on with that. They flooded the countries with illegals, and now that we're trying to get them out of here, they're pissing and moaning. So it's typical Democrat playbook stuff. The rise of the liberty-loving Latino, a new American revolution. Where do the listeners go to pick up a copy of the book?
Head on over to Amazon, folks. Whenever you buy one of those books, an angel gets his or her wings. Do your part for king and country. Do your part for God Almighty. Buy one of those books and not actually see the way we got to a new American revolution with Latinos supporting Trump in massively huge quantities. The majority of Latino males did. See how we continue it. This is the antithesis of the surrender caucus playbook of the Republicans. This is a conservative telling you that if you want to continue to win, behave like an American, behave like a conservative.
Amen. You're always hitting it out of the park. Chris Salcedo, honored to have you back on the podcast. Hope you come back on down the line. Thanks for joining me today on the AlecLace Show.
Thanks, brother.
All right, honored to have Chris Salcedo back on the AlecLace Show. What you guys think about the interview? Hit me with a comment down below. Go check out the Chris Salcedo Show. Grab a copy of his book, The Rise of the Liberty-Loving Latino, A New American Revolution. And they try to tell you, right? It's always the same thing, like Latinos, people that are here in the country legally. They hate all this stuff. They don't want to see it. They want these people that are here illegally out of the country. Come in the right way. Do it the right way. And the opportunity is there for all these people. Just get out, just self-deport. Get out of the country. Stop your pissing and moaning and just leave. You're here illegally. You know you did the right thing. Leave. But no, not when you have champions on the left telling you to stay. We're going to fight and die for you to stay here. You broke the law, and we're going to fight and die to make sure that you get to get away with it. And another thing there with Chris Salcedo, I was trying to get out there too, it's the radicalization on both sides is eye-opening. So if you're radicalized by the right, you're liable to get married, start a family, have children. If you're radicalized by the left, well, that might lead you to carrying a loaded weapon into a confrontation with federal agents. I mean, that's the difference here. Like the brainwashing of the one side. So if you're brainwashed by the right, you're going to get married, start a family, go to church, you love your country. You're radicalized by the right. If you're radicalized by the left, you're going to carry a loaded weapon and you're going to go assault federal agents and you're going to resist arrest, right? That's all of a sudden you were this normal guy out there watering your plants. Next thing you know, you're on the street duking it out with federal agents with a loaded gun in your pocket. You might have been radicalized by the left. And they should come take you away and put you in a rubber room. All right, let's move on now. We got my friend Mike Howell from the Oversight Project. You've seen him testifying before Congress. He's got a great show. The Oversight Project is always on top. They got their pulse on the finger. We're going to get into the Fulton County now, into some of that. Also, I wanted to talk to him about this Netflix Time Warner merger, so we'll hit on that if I can squeeze it in. Mike Howell from the Oversight Project. Let's bring him on.
You're listening to the AlecLace Show. The future is family.
All right, joining me now, Mike Howell. Welcome back to the AlecLace Show.
Hey, man. Thanks to be back on.
It's always great to see you. I wanted to kind of start here. We had the raid on the Fulton County election site yesterday, which is ground zero for the 2020 election. Tulsi Gabbard was spotted on hand down there. So hopefully we get to the bottom of what happened there. We had the pipe burst in the middle of the night. They didn't start counting the votes again until they knew just how many they needed. So what's your take on what's going to happen down there in Fulton County?
Yeah, about time. Like, look, the ultimate thing we need to figure out is, what the ballots actually said. And ballots are obviously different than votes. And that's what happened in 2020 when they changed our election system from a voting system to a quote unquote ballot system. And they just flooded the country with these things in unaccountable ways. And we all know the history since then in terms of the failure of the courts to address it and not even allow the Trump administration to get into court, Democrat operatives and media covering it up, sign after sign that we're never going to know what the full totals are because they designed the system in such a way. And so we need to stay on it. We can't have a stolen presidential election like we did in 2020. And so we need to make sure there is accountability for it at a bare minimum, and then also understand the tradecraft of how they stole and rigged an election. Also in Republican Georgia, which is in massive air quotes there, what the elected leadership there did, because obviously their interest in Kemp and Raffensperger on down has always been, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, because it embarrasses them that they couldn't manage these elections in their own state. And, also, frankly, they just didn't want Trump to win. So we all know those things to be true. I am glad that we're seeing some action. I will wait and hold my breath. I think that is the tip at this point in the administration. I give everyone: do not cheer process, don't cheer the raids or anything like that. You wait till the goods come up, all right? Because they know they aren't meeting that agenda. So sometimes actions can be taken to, get us off their back a little bit when we're the ones calling for it, because that's what they told us they would do. So wait until the goodies are out there till you start cheering things on. But yes, it is a positive step.
Yeah, that's like if you're betting on a football game and you're up at the half, don't get too cocky. Don't be celebrating. They don't give out no prizes at halftime, right? You got to finish the game, which is something we hope to see with so many of these things. But Trump did allude to, when he was speaking in Davos last week, he did mention that prosecutions are coming. We caught them for the 2020 stealing election. And then all of a sudden now we see the raid happen there in Fulton County. So it would be nice to see this all kind of tied together and something, because even they had that cuckoo bird out there from one of the ones that's in charge of this place that they were raiding, the election site, saying like, oh, this was 6 years ago and we don't need to put any more confusion, as if this is no big deal, as if if it happened, it's no big deal. This is a huge issue that we have to get to the bottom of. People have to be held accountable. Otherwise, we have no faith in the elections whatsoever.
Yeah, no, don't tell me it was 6 years ago. I mean, like, the Biden administration investigated and put out a report on the Tulsa riots from 100 years ago. Are you kidding me? No, things of that level of national importance, when you literally question our democracy, quote unquote, and we know it's a constitutional republic, when you rig it and steal an election, yeah, that's going to be on the top of my mind to the day I go 6 feet under. And also, statute of limitations like isn't a factor if these people are involved in continuing to cover it up. And obviously, Georgia has been the subject of investigations from every single angle since they rigged it, and so they shouldn't hide behind the statute of limitations. And no, we did not forget that you stole an election.
Mike, I wanted to get your take just because, I had three congressmen on the show on Tuesday, and I'm always asking, and it's always this kind of the same thing where it's like, it sounds promising. It sounds like something's going to happen. And then, how many times can Lucy pull the ball away from Charlie Brown? That's how we kind of feel like with the DOJ. We never see the results. When Biden got in there 4 years, we saw people in handcuffs. We saw Trump get mugshotted. We saw them take action and really go after our guys. We don't feel that with any of this stuff. I just had George Papadopoulos last week. There's still no accountability for the Russia collusion hoax. And it almost seems like we do have this kind of false sense that, this time it's going to happen. And it's like, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me 100 times, shame on you. And that seems that do we have any faith that we're actually really going to see results on any of this shit?
Oh, you shouldn't as of right now. No, I'm going to be completely blunt. Absolutely not. And we're never going to change that unless you and I have conversations publicly like this and the base stays activated and it makes their votes contingent on those things. Right now, unfortunately, we're seeing the resurgence of what really went wrong in the Trump first administration. That's when they thought their constituency and who they needed to deliver for were the liberal media, the pollsters, the consultants, and the rhino Republicans in swing districts whose elections they thought were what the America First movement organized for. People like Garbarino and Lawler up in New York who are pushing amnesty and trying to stop DHS. And what we're seeing in Minneapolis is instructive everywhere, right? We're seeing a drawdown, which is another fancy word for retreat. And we're seeing that the administration couldn't handle a few days of bad CNN press when they were being met with absolute obstructions, things that are taking on militia and insurgency type organizations, and yet they're leaving Minneapolis. And the ending and enduring policy it looks like that's coming out of there is immigration enforcement is only going to be able to deport criminal illegal aliens. And guess what? That means only blue states and cities who have shut down the cops and told them not to arrest anyone or charge anyone have to decide who gets arrested and charged before DHS deems them deportable. And so ultimately you have Tim Walz, Tampon Tim. He has say over federal immigration enforcement right now. And so that's an instructive example as to how the left can really take over the Trump administration in some ways. And that bleeds over, of course, into the actions out of DOJ. You have a bunch of lawyers there and others who are more concerned with their personal reputations and how they're perceived in the legal community who won't go and do what needs to be done. And that's rule of law enforcement, even when it's politically and media hairy. Obviously, the Democrats don't have this problem. And they won't when they win again because the base will be destroyed if this is the tactics and course politically that the administration adopts. They did J6, full bore. Everything full bore. I know. I was involved in a lot of those things for many years. Many of my friends suffered greatly, still suffer greatly. And when Democrats come back, they're going to do it once more because they don't care what the AlecLace show thinks. They don't care what Mike Howell thinks. They're going to arrest us anyways. And they frankly just have guts that I'm not seeing out of this administration at this moment.
Sadly, I agree. That's why it's like I was saying the other day, we desperately need to see a arrest. I mean, just to throw us a crumb here, throw us a bone, because we've been calling for it for 10 years now. And it's like, we're like, give us something, but we always seem to be misled. And it does seem like it's going to be the same routine all over again here. So, but sticking there with Minnesota, we had the new Alex Pretti video that came out from the 11 days prior to the incident that cost him his life. And it completely obliterated the narrative of what they were building Alex Pretti up to be. I mean, this was a guy that was spitting on officers. He's destroying their property, kicking their car. And it almost seems like, in my opinion, Mike, this guy seems like he's taunting federal agents to come and get him. Then he turns around to kind of turn his back to them and then resists the struggle. It almost seems like this is a guy that was hell bent on getting them to either assault him or kill him so he could be a martyr for the movement. That's what it looks like now. You have established a pattern.
Yep, and now he's a winning martyr because he's getting them to retreat. So, what does that do? Creates more martyrs. This is going to make ICE's job hell. It is going to destroy recruitment, destroy the confidence of people who are put in life and death situations, and it's the worst case scenario, honestly. after all this. Pretti was framed by the media to be this, hero, just some local citizen who is acting on his, this full big heart of his. And no, we have video. He's a violent rioter. We founded the Oversight Project his final signal chats. He's part of an organized malicious type group that was spotting and doxing. And yet the media painted him that way, and it works for moving the Trump administration to back down. And so he is a successful martyr to the extent we accept those tactics. That's what they want. That's why they're willing to die for it. If it means they can stop the big bad enforcement of basic constitutional law. And so we're going to have more martyrs in this country. That's why you don't negotiate with terrorists. And they shouldn't have, and they did, and they walked away.
I'll tell you what, too. It's like you've seen right from the jump. They used an AI picture of Alex Pretti on MSNBC. They already jumped on the narrative. This guy's a VA ICU nurse, and they already tried to build that up immediately. They started running with that before any of the other stuff came out. Now, we don't even still know if that's the same incident where he broke a rib, because apparently he broke a rib, they said, a week before. It could be the same incident. I don't know. We don't know how many other incidents there may be on video of this guy assaulting ICE officers. So, and just to get back to your point there, about now it's criminal illegal aliens. Like, we didn't vote as a country to just deport criminal, and I hate that word, because if you're in the country illegally, you've committed a crime. You shouldn't be here. If you're here illegally, you have to be deported. That's the understanding we all had when we pulled our ballot. We didn't say, oh, we just want these certain illegals to be eliminated. No, we wanted them all to be kicked out of the country. And now it seems like we're being reduced to just, you have to have been a murderer or a rapist in order to get deported. That wasn't the plan going in here.
No, it wasn't the plan. We were sold a bill of goods, it looks like. And that's deeply, deeply unfortunate. And right now, my chief concern is to keep, the policy ability of this alive. I think it's going to be hard to bring it back in the next couple of years, but I'm thinking much further ahead and into, administrations to come that will be able to do this. But it's clearly not what we were told. In fact, this whole notion that immigration law, which says if you're here illegally, you got to go home. That's what it says in its simplest terms. The idea that it only applies to criminals, guess where that comes from? It started in Bill Clinton, it grew under Obama, and then it became policy in Biden. So that's what we were cementing into place. I tweeted out a quote from Biden's 2020 presidential debate where he was asked about deportations, and you can't tell the difference between what he said and what we're hearing from Tom Homan and President Trump and others right now. It is as if Biden won the election, or Kamala and Tim Walz, because we're depending on them now telling us who we're allowed to deport. I certainly didn't sign up for that. I think the only thing that can change this right now is for us to speak out and call it like it is. And honestly, let's just be honest. We should be truthful at all times. And the truth right now is we have the Democrats' deportation policy in place at a time where the country voted for the exact opposite of that.
Well, I think the major difference here is that the border is shut down. That's the major difference, is that we don't have millions of people still storming into the country here, which was done intentionally. So I think we have that going for us. I know they have Tom Homan now in Minnesota. I don't know. I don't know where it goes from here. It's just the media got control of the narrative. They're disappearing people. They're kidnapping children. They're very good at what they do. They can get their base riled up, and they've radicalized these people on the left, so much so that you're willing to carry a loaded weapon and get in the face of ICE officers or federal agents and assault them. I mean, you have to have lost your marbles when you get to that point. You can't speak to any rational person, especially a gun carrier, that would ever think in his right mind that was the right thing to do. But they do it with the narrative. When you believe that the Nazis are in the street, you have to go and assault them. You have to go and attack them. And in your mind, you're brainwashed into thinking you're protecting history here.
Yep, no, that's absolutely right. This takes on a near religious kind of importance. Morality is viewed through that in their terms, and it's worth dying for. I mean, this is a mirror. You can hold up a mirror to the psychology of ISIS or Al Qaeda. That is why they have martyrs and suicide bombers, and to do the things. They are willing to die to stop this thing in their perverted sense of it. And, we fought a global war on terror. It spent a lot of time and treasure. It pains me to see, 20 years after that all began, after, 25, after 9/11, we're rewarding the same tactics domestically. And it's just we need to have a spine as a country. I know, in D.C., things are different. People care about polls. People care about what the Democrats say on CNN. They care about the legislative battles. I don't care. I don't care. And I don't think the vast majority of people throughout the country care. They see that people are getting away with things they shouldn't get away with. They're seeing a country they don't recognize. They were born into a country that looks nothing like the one they live in right now. And this whole notion that you have to be an extra criminal to be deported, just look, next time you get your tax bill, next time you get a speeding ticket, next time you get harassed by your government, federal, state, or local, ask them, go to them, be like, hey, I'm not a murderer. Am I off scot-free? Because I've been watching the news. If I'm an illegal alien, I've been told I got to kill someone before you enforce basic law against me. No, we're at the point where we're giving extra rights to non-citizens who don't even deserve to be here, who broke our laws to come here. It is a complete inversion of the 250 years of constitutional history of this country. And a country can't survive when the rules are applied that way. Like, that is the rule of law. It's supposed to be what binds us together. There's secret sauce of America. And when you rip that away, bad things happen.
And Mike, they're swelling up the welfare laws. They're cooking the books on with these guys. They're getting health care. Even when they had the presidential debate back then, they said, "Oh, would you guys give illegals health care?" Every one of them raised their hand. They were all down for that. So it hurts the American worker. We're always the one getting screwed, it seems like, and nothing ever gets done about that. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about it. But he'll tell us, the people of Iran. I stand with the people of Iran. Well, who are the people of Iran? I don't know who these people are. What do I give a shit about the people of Iran? What about the people here? What about my utility bill? You know what I mean? It's like, those are the things we care about. How about the food prices? How about the gas prices? These are the things we really care about, because they would affect. Can I afford to bring my family to a football game? I mean, can I afford to take my family on a 1-week vacation? God forbid, out of the 365 days that we're all out there working. That's what we care about. But we're made to believe that we should care about all this other stuff that really doesn't matter when it comes down to our lives.
That's right. That's right. I mean, our system of government is supposed to be a representative, like democracy, constitutional republic, framing it, where the people in power represent the interest of you and me. It is a representative democracy in such a way, but the people they represent aren't the voters.
Yeah. And George Washington, these guys, when it came to that, stay out of the foreign affairs. Don't get involved. Let's go back to that policy. That's what I like to see. Last thing I got to get you out of here. The Netflix Time Warner deal. I've seen you posting some about this. You've been all over the place talking about it on the news. This is a thing where we know Netflix is as woke, and we talk about controlling the narrative. They use these TV things like Netflix to get control of the narrative. I wouldn't be surprised if Netflix does a documentary on Alex Pretti and they make him black and gay. I mean, that always seems to be the way they do everything. But now they're going to have this merger with Time Warner. It's going to be even a bigger piece of the pie. Can Trump stop this thing? Is there still time for him to get in the way? What happens if this does go through?
Yeah, so Netflix is run by a bunch of globalist Democrats, some of the biggest power players. You got Obama involved, Susan Rice, the owner of Politico. I can go down the list, some of the biggest funders. They view Netflix not as an entertainment company per se. They view it as a huge socially engineering and political propaganda machine. And so they know they can control politics and world events and perceptions thereof and public opinion if they control this. If they slip and commingle ideologically driven and partisan propaganda into entertainment. And so that's what Netflix is. And Netflix right now is seeking to expand. They want to acquire at least Warner Brothers so they can have in their catalog, other images and iconography that you and I are familiar with, so they can use to push these messages on tons of people. That's what's at stake right now. The most powerful political and ideological messaging machine in human history, more powerful than taking control of the textbooks or the newspapers, which, by the way, they already have. Yeah. And so that's what we're up against. And it's existential in that regard. And the president has the enforcement of antitrust at his disposal. There's other tools, but I think they should fight like hell and not let Netflix get more powerful. It's not an entertainment company. It's a political organ.
No doubt about it. Yeah, every cartoon got a transgender figure. It's always pushing the left progressive narratives. It's disgusting too. So, all right, time is running up. Mike Howell, Oversight Project. Where can people go to find it out, learn about it?
We're on X at It's Your Gov. I'm at mhowelltweets. Our website is itsyourgov.org.
All right, Mike, always a pleasure. Come back and see me soon. Thanks for joining me today on the AlecLace Show.
Will do, brother. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Grateful to have Mike Howell back on the podcast. What'd you guys think about that interview? Hit me with a comment down below. Sadly, I agree with him there that you lose faith that we're going to see some type of justice. I mean, I have to keep the faith. You have to keep hope. You have to say that, we have 3 more years. We're going to see this where we see accountability. We know that Trump has to want accountability here. And hopefully, we see it. I've been talking about it. We've all been talking about it. It's been happening 10 years. We've been saying it but we started with Hillary Clinton. Oh, you'd be in jail, right? That was his famous line from those debates. Well, good thing you're not in charge of the Department of Justice. And he says, yeah, because you'd be in jail. That was a popular line then. And we all thinking like, oh, yeah, that never happened. None of that ever happened. The left kept telling us that if Trump gets in charge of the Department of Justice, he's going to seek retribution on all these people. He's going to lock them all up. Lock her up. Oh, my God, it's going to be doomsday. He got in there, and none of that happened in the first term. He's gotten back in there, and so far for the first year, none of that's happened. And you still have now Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton defy a subpoena, and they're still walking around. No, there's no date to turn yourself in. There's no going to jail like Navarro and Bannon. None of that. So it's just it's frustrating that we keep saying the same things over and over when it comes to accountability. Like, you see that meme with Chris Farley, for the love of God, arrest somebody, and it feels very real. I mean, it hits home to see that. So we'll see what happens. We still pray. We still have faith. Not jumping the ship on it. You're just a frustrated believer right now is what you can count me as. And I don't see it as a I don't think this is going to make Trump back down from his ICE raids and from taking people out of the country. I think he's going to change his approach. I think he's going to try to figure out right now that there's chaos all over because the Democrats are putting a bullseye on the backs of ICE agents. You got all these lunatics that are out there. They're screaming and yelling, blowing whistles. They're getting into confrontating with ICE agents and federal agents. What are you guys doing out there? Like, it's just crazy. And they're doing this as ICE is trying to get violent criminals out of the streets. Imagine if they were only going after people that were just here illegally. I mean, it would be even worse. And right now, they're just going after the violent criminals is who they're getting out. And they're doing this. All this resistance. All right, so it's frustrating as hell. Got to keep the faith. The midterms are going to be important. Trump's out there, Iowa, trying to rally the base. They need to rally behind Trump because this is the next 2 years. Normally, if we get our doors blown off at the midterms here, the next 2 years are going to be a disaster of trying to get anything accomplished. So hopefully we can rally the base enough to say, hey, a vote for your congressman is like a vote for Trump right now because we got to keep the House. We desperately need to keep the House. Historically, that does not happen. Happened very few times in history. Trump knows that. And the Democrats are licking their chops because if they can get in the House, they shut it down. Impeachment after impeachment. So, all right, I got to jump. Grateful to Mike Howell and Chris Salcedo for joining me on the podcast. Grateful to you for joining me on the show. I hope you'll come back and see me next week. I'll be back Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live on Rumble. Go follow me on X at AlecLace. Doing my best to get some guests for next week, so I'll post them up there first so you'll see who's coming. And that's it. God bless you, parents and you listeners out there. God bless our police, our first responders, our military, our veterans. God bless America. And I'll catch you guys next week, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right back here on Rumble. Have a good weekend.
You're listening to the Alec Lace Show. The future is family.